But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the house barrage, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Be kind to the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise. And since today's May Day, I have created an International May Day playlist if you're looking for some music for the occasion. The links in chat along with various other ones. How's everybody doing? As we look at what we've got here. Let's see. Thought we might start out with a message from Erica Kirk, which apparently I've heard this is remarkable. See what kind of bullshit the Merry Widow is on.
Seems to me that
includes paid promotion. That's how you know it's a very special episode. Like, I mean, first of all, I mean, the outfit is really something. I mean, she looks like she's auditioning for like an evangelical Public Enemy cover band. Like, she's about to debut her hit single, Please Believe the Hype.
nothing will ever be enough for the evil in this world. Our country has become unrecognizable. These people have perverted the truth to the point that they motivated the murder of my husband.
I mean, there's something particularly next level about talking about the evil in this world when you're dressed like a villain from a bad 70s movie.
Continuously try to assassinate the president and anyone who stands and
I don't know that this is really counts as continuous, to be honest. And nobody seems to be putting much effort into it. I mean, they're clearly they're not sending their best.
Their way is labeled hateful, racist, fascist, and their way is labeled hateful, racist, fascist, and every other trigger word that is grossly dishonest.
Well, I mean, maybe you wouldn't be called those things if you stopped being so hateful, racist, and fascist. I mean, and one thing you could start with, I mean, if you're really not wanting to be thought of as a fascist, is maybe don't wear a black shirt. Just saying.
They have continuously tried to assassinate the president, and anyone who stands in their way is labeled hateful, racist, fascist, and every other trigger word that is grossly dishonest. We want the best for our country. They don't.
Who's we?
This is why Charlie started Turning Point USA in the first place. He didn't trust the radicalized liberal teachers. And this past Saturday, it was a school teacher, of all people, a school teacher.
He didn't trust the radicalized liberal teachers. Well, I mean, maybe he would have had at least basic literacy if he had, actually, as opposed to just grifting large amounts of money off of right-wing billionaires.
that attempted to change our history for the worst with bullets.
I mean, I love this. What I love about this, especially, I mean, suddenly, apparently, they found gun violence they don't like. Like, school shootings, it's their people, they don't say shit about it. You know, the U.S. changes the world for the worse with, well, not just bullets, but, like, big-ass fucking bombs, and, yeah, you'll never hear her saying anything about that. But this is changing history for the worse with bullets. Wow, that's...
And everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me. And I wanted to meet some of them.
Like, why were you even invited is what I'd want to know. Like, what the fuck? When you just look at the White House Correspondents' Dinner now, what you have to understand is that the White House Correspondents Association that puts on the dinner, you know, formed because under the Woodrow Wilson administration, the first one to get really scientific about propaganda with the Creel Commission on Public Information and stuff to manufacture consent, the word they actually used for U.S. participation in the First World War, you know, White House correspondents were having a bit of trouble actually doing any kind of journalism. It was a very journalism-resistant administration. So they formed this association in order to actually be able to stand up to the White House. And you would never guess that that was ever what it was about when you look at the fucking... I mean, like, certainly every White House Correspondents' Dinner in my lifetime that I can remember has just been glazing. I mean, it's been a bunch of, like, fucking bootlickers who, the sort of people who get the White House correspondence gig because it's all about access, and the way you get access is by giving favorable coverage. And they suck up to politicians, and they invite the politicians over and fucking Karl Rove raps. Like, okay, but what the fuck was she doing there? She's not a White House correspondent. She's not a dinner.
Face to face, quite frankly. Why have a conversation about me when you can have a conversation with me?
Well, because the former would be more rewarding.
A journalist from the Daily Mail came up to me. She introduced herself, and she was very gracious. She was saying,
well, of course, because it's the Daily Mail. That's also a fascist rag. I mean, like, literally, they had, the owner of the Daily Mail back in the 30s was a good friend of Hitler. And published articles like, hurrah for the black shirts. Like, their stuff was so pro-Nazi that the Nazis actually used it in their own propaganda. So, yeah, I can see them being gracious.
You look so beautiful. I'm so sorry for your loss.
So, like, just perfunctory...
replied, it is so nice to put a name to the face. Especially with all of the slander, the lies, accusations that are out there surrounding my husband's murder and myself.
I mean... I don't think the Daily Mail has been part of that, though. That's just mostly been your husband's friends, actually. I mean, he surrounded himself with very shitty people who only give a shit about chasing money. And they figured out that the way to chase money is by starting this whole fucking kayfabe. Like, you're surrounding yourself with people who suck.
And I said to her,
like,
you know what's so interesting? This is my first time at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And...
Well, I mean, everybody gets to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, but, like, the widow of a Nazi irritant, she's never been. Like, that's just so unfair. I mean, we've all been to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and she's been left out.
I find it so fascinating, the dynamic that is going on right now, because everyone is all dressed up and you guys are co-mingling in and out of each other's cocktail parties. And so for one night...
Well, I mean, yes, they're dressed up. I mean, it's a fucking black tie dinner. That's kind of how that works.
You are able to put aside all of your differences for the sake of freedom of speech.
Is that what's going on? Like, let's just remember, there was a time back in the Bush administration, hello Badger, where actually it was memorable because Stephen Colbert did what I think might have been his best set ever. He actually did a thing where it was like both calling out the administration for how full of shit they were and calling out the assembled media for how full of shit they were for claiming that they were holding the government accountable when they were in fact just spreading whatever bullshit the government wanted them to spread. And it pissed off everybody to the extent that they decided they weren't going to have a comedian the next year, and instead they had fucking Karl Rove rapping. Like, so I don't know that any of this is about putting aside differences for freedom of speech. I think it's about just sort of sucking themselves off over a nice dinner while sucking up to people that they suck up to every day.
And then by Monday morning, things will go back to being an absolute bloodbath between all of you. To which she replied, literally, she said, I know. Isn't it special, right? Isn't tonight so special? And following that conversation...
Okay, like, what the fuck are you supposed to say to that? Like, random, creepy woman dressed like fucking Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 shows up and starts talking about a bloodbath. I mean, you're probably just mostly trying to find the exit.
It was time to take our seats, and we went into the big ballroom where the dinner was.
So she was, in fact, invited.
One of the first things I noticed when I walked into that room was quite literally the proximity
Who the fuck
of the
invited
opposing
her?
outlets to one another. So you have one table here that's Politico, and another table here that's Fox, and another...
Fun fact, Politico's been taken over by the Axel Springer publisher in Germany, and the CEO of the Springer publishing house, which is a far-right publishing house, has actually told everyone at Politico if they want to keep their jobs, they have to lie about Iran. So, I mean, Politico is about to just, to the extent that it was any good before, which, I mean, I have to say, it was mid at best, but, I mean, it's going from mid to shit.
Table here that's WAPO, and you're all crammed together, elbow to elbow. And to make the night even more of a spectacle, every single 10-person table had 10 bottles of wine. And
wow, that's such a spectacle. There's wine at a dinner. Like, that's so fucking amazing. There was wine at the dinner. That is such a wild spectacle. Like, that's a thing people have at dinner. Especially at the sort of dinner that, like, a fucking black tie dinner, yeah, there's wine.
The president of the White House Correspondents Association, she did a great job of trying to make the evening have that feeling of Americana. You know, we were in a room celebrating freedom of speech.
Well, there was wine. She was trying to make it about Americana when there was wine.
Differences, and the U.S. Marine Band performed the national anthem so beautifully. And then shortly thereafter, gunshots rang out and total chaos.
Well, that's kind of what...
And you guys have all...
I hate to break it to you, but that's usually what happens when the Marines are someplace. I mean, you don't generally... If there are Marines someplace, there are probably going to be gunshots. Don't know what to tell you. It's just kind of how they work.
Seeing what happened next, because there are 1,000 videos of it. So... Let's discuss that fact for a second. If you were in that room,
that there are videos in a in an event that is put on by media? Wow. I mean, there's wine at a dinner, and there's like videos of a media event.
You had no way of knowing what the status of the shooter was, how many there were, or honestly, really anything. It was just utter chaos. And so during an active shooting, these journalists are using their phones to find moments to capture for clips. They were so concerned about getting a video.
Well, it is kind of their fucking job.
In a room with an active shooter that
Like,
they could have accidentally and quite literally filmed themselves being shot. Many of those people have become so...
Wait, I mean, she's criticizing them for that? I mean, that is like actually kind of what photojournalists aspire to a certain extent. Is that in that situation they'll have the presence of mind to actually get the footage. Like, okay, but also, I mean, it's just so interesting to hear this, because, I mean, it's so fascinating, because, of course, her husband famously said, you know, the Nazis shooting up primary schools every once in a while is just kind of the cost of the Second Amendment, and, you know, she was cool with that. But, I mean, it turns out maybe gun violence isn't as fun when you don't have your finger on the trigger. Maybe gun violence actually is kind of scary when you aren't the one shooting. Maybe that's a perspective to consider when you talk about these things.
Desensitized that fight or flight became secondary to the opportunity of putting themselves into the story, which ironically breaks the #1 rule of journalism.
Wow, I'm glad that Erica Kirk's going to tell us the #1 rule of journalism. And actually, this is not putting yourself in the story. If you're getting the footage, you're getting the story. Like, if you're actually involving yourself personally, that is putting yourself into the story. But getting the footage is just literally just journalism.
Ironically enough, the shooter was a teacher. You have these people who are supposed to be teaching our children the future of this country.
I wonder where...
And he's so unhinged that...
Wow, yeah, I know. It's so weird that somebody who's involved with schools would also get involved with guns, because those things kind of don't go together, you'd think. Isn't that weird, chat? That somebody who's involved with schools would get involved with shootings. Like, maybe that's going to become a thing where there are just, like, school shootings or something. Like...
He is able to teach children by day and then attempt to murder the President of the United States by night.
On TikTok, teens get over 50 built-in protections from the start. But
well, yes, protection from facts, protection from anything that isn't racist. Wait, but I mean, the way she put that, though, it really points out the way teachers really work hard. I mean, look, they got to teach a class the whole day, and then they got a gig at the White House Correspondents' Dinner at night. I mean, that is the second shift that they don't even get paid for. Wow. I'm so glad Erica Kirk shared that with us. Okay, hang on. Yes, I hear Askold has opinions. He's got a video here called "We Live in an Assassination Culture." And I wonder if he's going to be making, you know, I'm sure...
Assassination culture, that's...
What the fucking goblin motherfucker, like, same bathrobe, too. Like, I mean, he looks like he's about to send you on a fucking quest.
I'm calling it. It's bad now, and it's gonna get a whole lot worse. I want to make this video because in 2, 5, 3, 10 years from now, I want to be able to go back to this video and say, see guys, I told you so. And if
Wait. This is when he's telling us so. So, we weren't living in an assassination culture when the US and Israel decided to murder the entire Yemeni government, nearly, and then murder all the top people in the Iranian government. That wasn't an assassination culture. When fucking Trump in his first term had Michael Reinl, had him just whacked. He just called out a hit on Twitter. And then bragged about it afterwards and then deleted the tweet because he realized that maybe bragging about taking a hit out on a guy might be the sort of thing the lawyers might frown on. But this is what makes this an assassination culture, apparently. Like, and speaking of cultures, I do not want to know about the cultures living in that fucking bathrobe. That can be lost to science for all I care. Like,
if I'm not right, I'm going to delete the video. So anyway,
Well, I mean-
this has been, I think, escalating. It's been going crazier and crazier. We've had now the 3rd or 5th, or I lose count, how many attempts on
I mean, I like the idea that he will delete videos in which he is wrong. I mean, that will save a lot of storage space for YouTube, I think. Oh, I see. I see more people have joined us. Hello there. How's everybody doing? So, apparently, Asmongold is now going to start deleting videos where he's wrong. And I think that's great, actually. Like, I mean, because that's all his videos. Like, he doesn't even know. It's 3, motherfucker. You lost count of 3?
Trump's life. Somebody, well, I'm really mad. I'm going to shoot the president. Oh, boy. That's going to solve all your problems. And so you have these people.
I mean, oh, hey, Emily's. I mean, first of all, it's not 3 to 5. It's 3. That's a pretty manageable number, actually. And 2 of them were Republicans. And the 3rd one is some weird-ass centrist whose Twitter feed is full of him slagging off Hassan Piker and Palestinians. Like, he is literally, like, the DNC's, the distillation of the spirit of the DNC, except that he actually fucking did something. Like, but, I mean, let me just be clear, I mean, not for legal purposes endorsing anything, I'm just saying that is a more active role to take, is all. But, yeah, so we've got Republicans and centrists are the ones who are having a go at him, and they're all bad at it.
And this has really, really escalated ever since, and I mean, let's be honest here, it's been escalating ever since BLM. That's whenever being a crazy retard became the socially acceptable thing to do. And now, everybody's a crazy retard. And these are the people who...
Ableism aside, of course, but is that what you want to say when you have the biggest political stream on Twitch? Because that could be read as, like, self-criticism.
think that they are fighting for civil rights. It's like, you're not Rosa Parks sitting at the front of the bus whenever you're burning down a Uber driver's Tesla because Elon Musk made you mad. You're not fighting for civil rights. You're trying to take them away.
Wait, okay, what, the civil rights of a Tesla? Cars don't have civil rights. Oh, I see, that's his problem. Cars don't have civil... He's saying that cars are being discriminated against because they don't have civil rights. Civil rights for cars! Civil rights for cars! Fucking goblin motherfucker.
Everybody wants to have an election. You don't like the way it turns out? Time to burn everything down. Well, can you imagine what it would be like if everybody did this? Oh my god.
I mean, I think it would probably be better.
And this is the form of third worldism.
Oh wow, he's using. He keeps using that term. I don't think that it means what he thinks it means, but like he's saying people freaking out and like burning stuff down because an election turns out wrong. Like that's your audience, dude. I mean, that was January 6th. That was your guys.
And I talk about this a lot. I'm still on Twitch now. And I talk about this, though, because this is the mentality of when the existing systems do not create the outcome that you like.
He has a quest that he would like us to go on. I think that's what's up with his hair, Emily. He is going to, like, sell us potions and send us on a quest. Eventually, he is just going to like morph into like an orc or something.
Even though all of the systems are working properly, you're being represented.
Well, I wonder if maybe the thing is that a lot of people don't feel that the system is working properly. Maybe a lot of people feel that the system's functioning is screwing them over. And that maybe there needs to be a change to the system so that it doesn't do that. Oh, I misread that at first. It's like I thought it said mage delusion because he looks like some sort of an NPC from World of Warcraft or something, and now I see it was MAGA delusion.
You just simply don't have the numbers to achieve your goals. Whenever this happens to you...
Well, except the point is actually... We do have a lot of numbers. And the thing is that despite being the majority on a lot of things, the system does not give us the things that we need. And the majority of people who are getting completely screwed over grows every fucking day. And what happens then is that people get really pissed off. Oh god, your brother, like, listens? Oh, that is unfortunate. That must be very painful. I mean, as painful as it is to watch this motherfucker, to watch somebody who thinks this guy's opinions are worth listening to, as something other than, like, a fucking fecal specimen of the propaganda system. Sort of an intellectual stool sample that we can, like, look for fucking steatorrhea in. Jesus, you must have wonderful conversations with your bro. God, I do not envy you that.
The result is not, well, I guess I have to work harder, I have to get more people to agree with me. No, the result is, now I'm going to set something on fire. I'm going to try to shoot somebody. I'm going to try to cause some sort of I'm gonna...
Wait, okay. So, the idea is... Wait, but your guys are doing the shooting. Mostly.
Get this, guys. I'm gonna stand in the middle of the road for Iran.
Well, yeah. It's called a protest. It's called protesting an act of criminal aggression. Like, has he not heard of protests before? That's how that works. You get in the middle of the road and you hold signs and you jam things, And if it's a really good protest, you block that shit. And
Thank God. Thank God. That's going to save them. Oh, for sure. Exactly. And if anything, it's going to make the gas prices go even higher. So anyway, this is what I think is happening, is that
how does he think gas prices work? Wait, so the idea is the gas prices, okay, are already going up higher because his guy is doing such a bang-up job in his aggression against Iran. He's so good at it because, see, Asmongold does not listen to the third worldist mobile phone videos of missile strikes coming in the Gulf dictatorships and stuff. He understands that you gotta go for real evidence, and that's why he just reads like Trump's Truth Social account, which is always so impressively hinged. He thinks that the protests are going to increase the gas prices? How are the protests going to increase the gas prices? That's not how gas prices work. I actually don't think they were, which is really something when you consider that, I mean, at the time you had Yemen's sanctions against Israel, which were shutting down the Red Sea, and then Biden started a war against Yemen to stop them sanctioning Israel so that Israel could do genocide undisturbed. And that turned the Red Sea into an active combat zone. And I don't think the prices ever got that high. Which I think, you know, because the thing about these prices is there's a lot of margin worked into them, of course. And I think, to a certain extent, these companies did not really want to draw attention to the situation. Because there was already a whole lot of political upheaval over, you know, the genocide that Biden was committing along with Netanyahu. And I guess they realized that if they decided to put the prices up too high, then there would be upheaval over that as well, even though usually this would be the sort of thing they use as an excuse.
Normalized the act of bad behavior, violence, aggression, hostility, and they've done so with a righteous indignation that has enabled them to justify doing so.
I wonder, do your guys ever do anything you might call bad behavior? Do like your guys ever just kind of show up in a ratty bathrobe on stream with cum in their hair and start screaming racism at a telephone, at a camera? Like, I just think that maybe the bad behavior might actually not be exclusively from the people who don't like fucking white supremacism and genocide and aggression.
As being the
Happy International Workers' Day. Did you see the link to the playlist I created for this year?
heroes of their own story. Is it too many Marvel movies? I don't know.
I mean, Marvel movies is, again, that's your guys, Asmongold.
But it's too many something. Maybe it's too many antidepressants. I have no idea, but I know it's a big issue. And I think I know where things are going with this. Because we can't live in a society that's like this. You can't have a society where people steal things, people are being violent randomly, and...
Like, I mean, yes, this is... I wonder if the reason that people are stealing things is that something like 60% of the population don't get paid enough to make ends meet. And the prices are through the fucking roof. Like, I mean, I'm just looking at the prices I pay for what is actually a fairly repetitive grocery order. You know... Yeah, he does, actually. I mean, usually he seems to have brushed his hair a bit. I mean, lately he's doing this thing where he shows up in an open bathrobe, which is disturbing. But now he's also just, like, letting his hair do whatever. He is just going full goblin. I think I see food in his beard, too. he.
People decide to kill elected representatives. If you want a country like that, go to Africa. There's plenty of them. They're called PvP servers. I preferably don't want to be on one. So these people.
Wow, I mean, it's so great to see this stand against political violence coming from Askold, the guy who said that he was totally cool with exterminating all the Palestinians, that he was, like, cool with doing the same, cool with mass murderous aggression in Iran and Lebanon. I mean, he's such a principled voice for nonviolence that it just has such credibility. Especially because, I mean, he gives encouragement to the people who do the mass shootings in this country. Like, so clearly he has a moral high ground to speak from. I'm glad that we're finally getting this take from him. And he manages to find a racist way to do it.
We're trying to turn our normal country, and this is happening in Europe too. So if you're European and
Well,
you're
actually,
like, well, this doesn't apply to me, we don't have this problem. Yeah, you do. They're driving through the fucking crowds with trucks instead of guns. Oh, wow, that's so much.
Oh, well, I mean, not very often, though, actually. That happens much more here, actually. And the people driving into crowds with trucks, Askold, they're your guys. I think he does. I mean, I don't know any other reason why protesting the war against Iran would make prices go up unless fucking, like, Shell and BP are like, oh shit, there's another protest, we can put it up another point. Like, I don't even think they're that shameless.
Much better. You guys have problems too. This is a problem inside of all of Western civilization because I think that we have culturally not been willing to just put our foot down with these fucking freaks.
I mean, yeah, because Western civilization, I mean, what we all know, like, Western civilization is just known for being so peaceful, never bothered anybody. I mean, it was just sort of magic that Western civilization ended up in this part of the world. I mean, part of it is, like, a lot of just standard tropes that are part of, like, just U.S. ideology. I mean, this idea that Western civilization is peaceful and wonderful and never bothered anyone and everything, I mean, that's just some bullshit that you get from the educational system in this country. And not just here.
These absolute fucking deranged, mentally ill, violent, psychotic freaks that need to be put in a mental institution and locked up indefinitely. And everybody else, by the way, if we did this, everybody would be living in paradise. Everything would be great. Everything would be amazing.
Well, like, okay. I mean, but not that he's for any kind of violence. There's something very special about a guy with unkempt hair in a bathrobe screaming about how everybody needs to be institutionalized, and who clearly also does not realize there's no fucking money for mental health, and also maybe people are pissed off for actual reasons. I mean, I know his guys generally just get pissed off because there are black people in movies, and tits get smaller in video games and stuff. But, like, there are people who get angry for actual reasons.
Oh, wow, I go to CVS. Oh, I want to buy a candy bar. Well, let me go speak to the manager's manager so he can get the special key that was made by, the Wizard of Oz to open it up for me to get a Reese's peanut butter cups.
Well, yes. And apparently the fact that people are so broke, that the massively inflated prices of these things warrant special, like, they spent money on apparently putting that shit in behind lock and key. He does not blame CVS for doing this. Badger. Yeah, that's actually a quite accurate take. I mean, the U.S. It's very convenient and for the U.S. to sort of make this about Israel because it avoids talking about the fact that the U.S. specifically does not like having a country in a strategic region that is independent of their control. I mean, that the U.S. has been engaged in one form of hybrid warfare against Iran or another since 1979, and really, I mean, you could count actually the U.S. dictatorship under Pahlavi, whose fucking Playboy fail son is walking around giving interviews about how he's like, everybody in Iran is fucking pining for his leadership. Yeah, and the reason is the U.S. does not tolerate independent development, and certainly not in regions that have strategic and economic significance. It doesn't really particularly matter what the ideological framework of that independent development is. What matters is that the U.S. does not get to, that the government in a particular place does not just do whatever the U.S. tells them and give them their resources and all that shit. And so, yeah, I mean, the U.S. would much rather make this about just Israel, but the reality is, I mean, this is very much just U.S. aggression. Israel is nothing more than an appendage of the U.S. in the first place. It does not have an independent existence.
No, I don't think so, guys. And before you say, oh, well, they're stealing because they're poor, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can't eat makeup, all right? No, they're not. They're stealing because they can and because they're getting away with it. And so we have a world where we have enabled and allowed this completely destructive behavior.
I mean, like the destructive behavior of price gouging. You mean, right? The destructive behavior of putting, like, the example you yourself used, like food, behind lock and key so poor people can't get it. That destructive behavior, right? The destructive behavior of throwing huge amounts of shit away that people could be eating before it ever reaches retail just to keep the prices up. Like, that destructive behavior.
Because people have been mentally guilt-tripped and emotionally manipulated into thinking that this is somehow the only outcome that a person can have. Well, I had things hard as a kid. That means I steal Kias.
I mean, I would much rather he stole Kias, actually. I mean, that's a weird model to specialize in, but I don't care. I mean, it would be better than what he's doing here. It would take more skill than what he's doing here, too.
And I drive them down the highway at 150 miles an hour. Well, you know what? My dad wasn't around, so that means I get to burn down the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, a lot of employers absolutely do, and it is required, and there are courts that have said that employers are allowed to require that of women. So, yeah, like, that is actually something people need in order to get a fucking job. And it's expensive.
I don't fucking think so, guys. I don't. And I don't think anybody else likes this either. I have what I call the 7-Eleven Eclair Index. Let me explain what that is.
Oh, great.
We all know 7-Eleven Eclairs, right?
No.
Right? I think we all... hopefully I'm not the only fat piece of shit here. I'm not fat, I'm trans fat, but it's the same thing. And
but you are a piece of shit, I'll give you that.
In the little bakery goods thing. Well, I found that if you want to go late at night and you want to get one of those eclairs, you have to go to a 7-Eleven that doesn't have any hobos or anybody around, like any of these random, oh, somebody's talking to their knife. There's not going to be any eclairs in that 7-Eleven. Let me tell you that.
Wait.
And so nobody wants to be around this shit. Nobody wants...
Wait a second. Okay. So the idea is that if it's a 7-Eleven where people hang out, they will have eaten the food that's there. Whereas a 7-Eleven where there aren't people there, there's more likely to be these eclairs that I don't know. I mean, him liking them is hardly a recommendation. I mean, he looks like he'd eat insulation. I mean, it is actually frightening to think that anyone listens to this guy and thinks he makes any sense. Like, okay, he was just getting done saying that theft isn't about poverty, and then he specifically says that he has to go to a 7-Eleven that doesn't have a lot of, like, homeless people around it. Yeah, he's apparently living in the 1930s in Germany.
To deal with this, but nobody wants to say it because they've created this sort of like, some sort of moral cachet in complete societal dysfunction.
Well, I mean, yes, I mean, the fact that there are people in a country where there are more empty housing units than there are people who have no housing, the fact that there are people without housing, that is societal dysfunction. I mean, that is actually, I mean, dysfunction is not quite right in the sense that this is just how capitalism works. This is capitalism working as intended. It's doing the thing on the tin. But yeah, that is a fucked up thing for to happen in a society. The rent should be lower, absolutely. In fact, there should be no rent. People should just have housing. It shouldn't be a fucking speculative commodity.
And I think that it's reaching a fever pitch. I think if they ever succeed, let's say you shoot Trump. Oh yeah, all your problems are going to go away now with President J.D. Vance. Yeah, you should shoot him. Oh, well now you've got Marco Rubio.
I like how he's decided to just sort of assume people are just gonna keep having a go, like it's that fucking carnival game.
It's not gonna work, right? You're gonna have to shoot a lot more people than that, right? And my opinion is let's not shoot anybody. How about just bring a better candidate next time and get more of your guys out to vote and maybe something.
Or maybe just have a fucking revolution. Yeah, I mean, yes, it is absolutely it is as pointless. I mean, it's wild because we've actually seen an example, thanks to this administration, of how pointless it is to just take the guy at the top, take out the guy at the top. Like, that actually is going to somehow end the entire regime or something like that. And it doesn't, obviously, because, a regime is a system of government, and that includes usually an order of succession and a bureaucracy and all sorts of other things. So it doesn't all collapse if one guy's gone, no matter how that happens. But, yeah, I mean, it is wild that has not, convinced people who might otherwise be thinking of trying it on that, yeah, they might need to go back to the drawing board.
And will happen to...
But, this... Jesus.
In your favor. But, we can't do that. And so anyway...
Well, yeah, because we don't have free elections.
This is what I think things are going, is that we are reaching a position where there is so much just day-to-day societal dysfunction. Just average dysfunction. Like, you go to the store... Like, I went to Walmart and I went to buy a pack of underwear. Now, I'm a 35-year-old man. This doesn't embarrass me anymore because, I've got a few gray hairs. But if I was 18, I would have been mortified by this. The woman had to unlock the underwear case.
Wait, okay, what's wild about this to me, and this is actually, I've heard him talk about this before, and I mean, I did not need to think about his fucking underwear. I do not want to think, I mean, those are some fast and furious skid marks on that shit. But it's wild that he'll talk about, societal dysfunction, and what he means is there are people so broke that they're nicking, crappy Walmart underwear, the kind that he would wear. and not the fact that they're this obsessive and invasive with surveillance over over some underwear that like costs probably about $5, takes and to make it probably costs probably less than 50 cents a unit, because it's all like the markup is massive, and the people in making this stuff are getting paid nothing. It's all pure profit. So, but I mean, he does not blame the people who are deciding to enact these sorts of policies. Instead, he like blames desperate people. I mean, I can see why he gets boosted by the algorithm.
Pull out the underwear, and I said, okay, can I have them? She says, yes, you can have them. I have to walk them up to the fucking register. And of course, you know, you have like 17 different registers at the Walmart. 3 of them, no, that's not true. 1 of them is open. And so I have to go there. I'm sitting in this long line.
So it's understaffed, and so that sounds like, again, that sounds like it might be Walmart's fault, actually.
And she says, yeah, he's buying underwear, these underwear are for him. And it's like, oh my god, this is...
And everybody around him is just relieved to hear that he will, at some point, like, be wearing something that doesn't have shit stains on it.
It's mortifying, it's embarrassing, right? And again, like, it's the kind of thing that, you know, you get old enough and you...
Yeah, I mean, I can totally buy that he is no longer capable of embarrassment, because I watched his stream.
But whenever you're younger, it's ridiculous. And I still laugh at it, but it's for a different fucking reason. I'm mortified for a different reason. I'm mortified that I'm living in a minimum security prison.
It's like, I mean, and that's not even wrong. I mean, it is the level of surveillance that is being just gradually imposed is, you know, it is, yeah, hobos, like, fucking hell. Like, but, I mean, and then, okay, so this surveillance state is constantly expanding, and it's expanding, indeed, because people are increasingly desperate, because the margins are tighter, and capitalists are taking more and more for themselves, and so he blames he blames the poor people for it.
The entire world is being turned into a minimum security prison so we can accommodate the bottom 2% of the bad actors in our society. Everybody has to live in this because we don't want to put them in it.
Wait, okay, so this is to accommodate the bottom 2%. This is to accommodate them. Like, this is to actually, this is, they're saying they will spend money on this fucking ridiculous amount of surveillance just to prevent a few poor people getting a few units of something that costs nothing for them to make, that is not a meaningful loss for them, that is covered by insurance, that they make way too many of to begin with. And it's like the people who actually have the power to make these decisions that are pissing him off so much, they don't get anything. They don't get any shit at all.
Drives me fucking crazy. It makes me so angry. And I think people are getting tired of this. I think eventually what's going to happen is there's going to be somebody that runs for government, somebody that runs for office that says, I'm going to stop this.
Yeah, by enacting price controls and putting the minimum wage up to something that people can fucking live on. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it is rather precious the way he's acting like stealing is a new thing. Like, oh shit, have you heard about this new thing that the kids are doing now? It's called shoplifting. It's so wild. See, they take the stuff, but they don't pay for it. What is society coming to?
and they will. And it's not going to be a good thing. And the thing is that, and everybody will be happy for this, because you have to remember, I think it was Benjamin Franklin that said, the people who desire safety over freedom deserve neither, right? Or something, some variation of that, right? Well,
it's the people who will give up precious liberty for temporary security deserve neither. But, like, so he's saying, well, like, who, okay, and who benefits from that, actually? Who would benefit from that rather than from, like, I guess he's saying somebody who's going to lock down society even more, as if we hadn't been moving in that direction steadily for, like, 40 years now, really. Like, he doesn't sit here. The reason this guy gets to be the biggest political streamer on Twitch is precisely because he doesn't stop for a second and say, okay, who benefits from making this all about some sort of, having the solution to this situation be some, like, fucked up surveillance society, rather than making sure people get paid enough money that they can actually fucking live, and that the rent doesn't get put through the roof, and that you can't, like, price gouge to your heart's content with, like, now they have this fucking surveillance pricing. I mean, he's doing this whole thing, like, this whole wild thing, and he's, like, all blaming poor people on it, but he doesn't talk about the surveillance pricing situation. Tyler Lorenz had an interesting video about it on using Instacart as an example, where depending, like, grocery shops will come out at different prices depending on what cookies you've got in your browser or your app when you put the order through for the exact same shop, from the exact same place, exact same items, different prices, like. But this guy, I mean, he manages to put all the blame on the people who have the least power.
Well, this is the problem with what Benjamin Franklin said. Back then, they didn't have universal suffrage. Now they do. And when everybody can vote, most people are going to choose safety every single fucking time. So we have a society
nothing he
of
said
people...
actually has to do with safety, though. Like, what? There's nothing unsafe. Wait, what exactly is unsafe about, like, somebody fucking shoplifting some underwear from fucking Walmart? Nobody is put at risk by this except the person doing it, and the thing to do there is, like, have less security so it's safer to do it. But really, if, like, maybe we should not have a system of wage labor-based commodity production that creates a situation where people cannot afford, the people who actually make everything cannot afford to buy any of what they make. Like, maybe that's a fucked up way to organize a society and we could do better. But no. What we need to do is, like, have more and more cops and more surveillance and blame poor people for needing things in a country with no welfare state to speak of.
That will, I think, whenever the time is right, willingly and beg for Minority Report. And not, I don't mean
that's already happening.
I mean the movie. I'm talking about somebody going and actually having, like, databases on them.
Like, he's talking about this shit like it's the future. That shit's going on right now. That's what Palantir does. That's what these gang databases are. Like, this shit's already going on. Wow.
Like eye tracking. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but they're now mandating, cameras in cars now to be able to detect and turn on and turn off cars at will, and be able to detect things like drowsiness and other type.
That is terrifying, actually. I hope you can find some way to get away from that or deal with it. But okay, so he's worried about the surveillance state, but he does not blame the people imposing it. And that is, like, the entire reason he is so useful to the ruling class, really, because he will blame literally everybody but the people who actually do the shit that he says he's so pissed off about. Okay, but I feel like that's more than enough, actually, of Ask Gold. There's only so much of him I can take. So, I hear that the young TERFs have decided to be on their bullshit, so we're going to have a look at them.
Uh-oh, look at this. Bernie Sanders versus Chuck Schumer. Wow. So we got a real...
Let's just remember, in this context, one thing that you don't see pointed out very often. The absolute worst of the genocide in Palestine was between 2023 and 2024. What's gone on since January 2025 is unconscionable. It's fucking horrible. It is also considerably less so than between late 2023 and the end of 2024. Like, between in that first year or so of the genocide, it was like thousands of people getting murdered in Gaza every single week, and now it is down. It is like below hundreds. So, which is why the resistance also have not like resumed fighting, because there's enough of a respite for the population as a whole that they want to keep it for as long as they can in order to survive. You know, like there's more aid getting in than there was between 23 and 24 as well. And fucking Sanders did not even start to oppose this genocide, even rhetorically, until Schumer and the Democrats started to change their line and rebrand a humanitarian pause as a ceasefire. Like, he gave interviews where he was like, how can you have a ceasefire with Hamas? And it's like, well, I mean, we've had them a lot of times, actually. Hamas actually abides by ceasefires, unlike the U.S. and Israel. And then, like, towards the end of 2024, like, seriously, when, by that point, the worst, at least so far, it could resume any day. There's no predicting it in that sense. But the worst so far was basically over. Then he came up with his fake-ass arms embargo that only reduces U.S. arms to Israel by 5%. But okay, so we're going to pretend there's some sort of grand showdown going on here.
Fight in the Democratic Party, not a fake one, and it's over Israel.
No, it's a fake one.
Bernie decided to put an amendment in saying let's block 1,000-pound bombs and
Hang on, let me just make sure. Because, when was this? Oh, this is 3 days ago, because all this sounded like something that happened in like late 2024, and it ended up being nothing. So we're okay. This is the second time this is happening. I thought I was watching an old video for a second, but okay.
armed bulldozers from going to Israel. So they had a vote about that. Chuck Schumer was not happy about that. The fact that he's gotten $6.5 million from the Israeli lobby is, of course, a coincidence. And the fact that
I imagine he gets a fair bit from the arms industry too.
Is, of course, a coincidence, right? But we'll get to his vote in a second. But Politico interviewed Bernie about this, and they asked him about, wait, who has more Democratic support in the Senate now, you or Chuck Schumer, on this issue? Good question. Political rights when Bernie Sanders.
And the answer is it's always going to be Chuck Schumer, because actually Bernie Sanders is only there to be another vote for the Democrats. He made a deal with them, and he does not actually upset their apple cart.
moved last April to block a U.S. arms sales to Israel. Only 14 Democratic senators joined a Vermont independent. When Sanders objected to another Israeli arms sale this month, 39 other members of the...
Okay, to block a U.S. arms sale is not, again, that is a bit misleading, since it was only to the extent that it affected offensive weapons, which is a tiny subcategory of all the weapons the U.S. sends to Israel.
The Senate Democratic caucus joined him. Okay, so now, is that real? Is Bernie now in charge of foreign policy for the Democrats in the Senate? Can they win a vote? We're going to discuss all that, give you all the facts. But first, Jordan.
They're not going to.
What's your 2 cents on this?
Jack, I'm so glad you asked. I think we're seeing a shift, a surprising shift.
Oh God, like, this is a rebrand.
Shift in the Democratic caucus.
This is so much of the way you can tell is that the language that has come out, all of a sudden you're hearing it all over the place, specifically says ending U.S. military aid. What's interesting about that is 2 things. One, Netanyahu himself proposed it, and so has Lindsey Graham. The other is that so has the pro-Israel lobby group J Street, because it comes down to the exact line item, how you fund it. It is not actually about sending arms to Israel or not. It's about what, exactly how that is handled fiscally. The weapons are going to be sent one way or another, but they've decided that if they say no aid, that sounds like what people are demanding, which is an arms embargo, without being that. Because the thing is that, like, the Democrats have noticed that 80% of their voters want to see the U.S. stop sending weapons to Israel. And the ones who care about getting elected have decided to change, to rebrand a little bit.
But it's interesting to watch, and I think if we were to go back 5 years and tell us we would be seeing these kind of numbers, posturing or not, I think we would be surprised, but I'm curious to hear the rest.
That is true. It is remarkable. And when ContraPoints and fucking Natalie Wynn talks about, it's a hopeless cause, why do they care about the genocide? It's hopeless. It's like, there has been a massive sea change in public opinion in this country on the subject of Palestine that is entirely attributable to the genocide and to the movement against it. Like, that is why we're seeing this. This isn't the Democrats suddenly noticed, wow, genocide bad. We need to stop doing genocide. I think genocide might actually be bad, guys. They noticed that this is now an 80-20 issue for their voters, and they would very much not like to lose primaries.
I want to come back to that. That's a great point and critical to this story. Okay, so let's go back to the interview. Politico asked, well, aren't you kind of in charge in regards to at least this issue? And Bernie answers, well, that's true, whether the fact that more people were with him. He says, we got 40 votes and Schumer got 7. We have more support for our position than Chuck has for his.
Except the thing is, there is no tangible difference between their positions. It is entirely a rhetorical divide.
Ooh, shots fired. That's as rough as Bernie Sanders gets with other Democrats. So I'll give him a little bit of credit there for saying, like, sorry, but no, Chuck Schumer doesn't speak for us on this issue at all. He said it in polite.
That is just good PR at this point. That's just, again, that's somebody looked at the polls and noticed that actually, despite the fact that everybody hates Trump, the Democrats managed to be less popular than he is, which is like plumbing depths of like negative popularity that were not previously explored. So somebody noticed that actually being distanced from Chuck Schumer actually makes you look good to the public. That doesn't actually mean anything. That's just, they read the polls.
Roundabout way, which is his want, in my opinion. I would have said it much harsher, but I'll take it, okay? They continue, Kalen Razor, who's doing the interview for Politico, asked Sanders, were you surprised Chuck Schumer didn't change his vote? And do you think it could change in the future? Sanders, again, didn't really take too many shots at Schumer, but replied.
Yeah, because he never does, which is how you know he is not actually, you know, he when he talks about, like, changing direction and all this stuff, if he were serious about that, you could tell, because he would be on things that he is critical of that the Democrats also do. He would not be pulling punches on Democrats, because you have to clean your own fucking house too. But he doesn't, because in the end, it's just a big fucking club.
You'll have to talk to Chuck about that, but you're right. I mean, I think what's noteworthy is that you have two major leaders of the Democratic Party, both Chuck and Kirsten Gillibrand, being a significant minority of the party in terms of their votes on continuing to fund military aid to it.
No, military aid, not weapons. Big fucking difference. It is trivial to come up with ways to ensure that Israel gets the same amount of weapons and that the money actually is ultimately provided from the federal budget, even if it isn't technically foreign aid. There are a million ways you could do it. So this is a way, when you see military aid, that has a very specific meaning, and it does not mean weapons. It means weapons that the U.S. subsidizes. And and these things are shopped through all sorts of focus groups and consultants and people like that to come up with the line that sounds like they're changing a lot while changing as little as possible, because they don't really want to change anything.
Israel, and that is indisputably true. They're one of the 7 snakes who voted for Israel. We're going to get to another one in a second. So when he was arguing with his pro-Israel colleagues, are they starting to feel heat from the Democratic base, was another good question.
I mean, clearly they are, because a lot of the people who are using this line, which is, again, provided by Netanyahu himself and J Street, are people who had supported the genocide all along, through the absolute worst of it in 2023 and 2024. So these are not people who have consciousness. These are not people who are trying to do the right thing. These are people who understand that it is a different ballgame for them now, and they have to at least sound vaguely like they're from the same moral universe as the people whose votes they want.
Aaron, always credit where credit is due. This is a good interview by Politico. And Sanders responded, we've had a solid group of people who have voted with us in the past, but also what we are seeing, you know, folks who are looking at both policy and politics, people like Mark Kelly of Arizona, Cory Booker of New Jersey, and a number of others who are saying it's time that we begin.
Yeah, I mean, this gives the game away. It's time that we began to vote the way our constituents would like us to vote. In other words, they read the polls and they realize if they want to have a career, they have to. They can't be going and having photo ops with wanted mass murderer Benjamin Netanyahu like Cory Booker does.
And to vote the same way our constituents would like us to vote, which is a pretty logical and indisputable position, but it is certainly disputable within the Democratic caucus. What he's saying there in a roundabout way, I'll make it clearer, is he's saying Mark Kelly and Cory Booker would never vote with us on Israel. They'll always want to fund Israel. But even they're getting so much pressure, and they're thinking of running for president, and even they've realized, oh my.
Yeah, except for that exact reason, that's why you gotta look at the fucking fine print and understand the difference between weapons sales and military aid. Because saying no more military aid does not mean that the number of weapons the U.S. sends even changes. It means the way it's handled, the accounting is handled, is different. That is why somebody like Booker feels comfortable doing it.
God, if we're seen as sending more bombs to Israel.
I mean, and it's the same thing. A lot of these people now, it's like become fashionable for some Democrats to be like, yeah, I'm not getting any AIPAC money. Well, some of them are actually, but they're getting it through intermediaries. AIPAC has cutouts now because they want that money. They have no moral objection to that money. And they are going to earn that money. But they know that it actually absolutely kills their chances if they are seen to take it. So now there are all these cutouts involved so that they can still take the money without it showing up as coming from AIPAC, for example. I mean, so much of this is just pure fucking rebranding. Actually, there was a really good interview. Adam Johnson was on Millennials Are Killing Capitalism just the other day. And yeah, you should definitely check that out. It is worthwhile. He just had he has a book out now called How the Liberal Media Sold a Genocide, and he talks about this rebranding and the entire very cynical, very choreographed way it's going on.
We'll never be able to win a primary in a Democratic race. So, but that's good news. That's pressure from you guys. That's working. Because you guys are getting the message through online media that these guys do not represent us.
Yeah, except it isn't really working. They're feeling the pressure, but they are trying to do what they always do. What people in power always do, which is to try to see just how little they can budge and actually get the pressure off. So what they're proposing now changes really nothing. But it sounds really good. I mean, it was just like when Sanders had that amendment to like stop sending offensive weapons without actually pointing out what a tiny percentage of the weapons that is. The idea is to just do as little as possible and make it sound like you're doing everything that somebody could possibly want and hope that people do not read the fine print.
And that's showing up in the polling, and it's scaring the crap out of them. That's why they're voting with us, even though they don't want to. In fact, I have more on that later that I'll talk to Jordan about. But one more comment from Sanders.
And I mean, this is like Cenk here is just absolutely, I mean, he should be pointing this out. I do not for a minute believe that he does not actually see what game is being played here. I feel like he probably does know exactly what this is about, what's going on here. He's not talking about it because fundamentally what he's there for is to get Democrats elected. Jesus. God. That is horrible, Varun. Just catching up with chat here.
How about the Israeli lobby? Sanders says the problem for the Democrats is that the AIPAC is enormously powerful.
Yeah.
This, of course, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. They've spent tens of millions of dollars in campaign.
And again, it suits these politicians to make it about the Israel lobby and not talk about the imperial interests at work. To not talk about the arms industry who have been making a killing on all of this. Not talk about oil and gas who are doing really, really well off of all this. I mean, the degree to which they're able to scare up oil prices over the current shit. I mean, they're making serious profits. But, yeah, it is very on brand for them to just make it about the lobby because the idea is to avoid getting people to look any deeper.
Contributions, and they have something like $93 million in their war chest right now. For Democrats to take on AIPAC is not easy, but they're increasingly choosing to support what the people back home want. So that's Senator Sanders being honest. This is
not entirely
the Israeli
no.
lobby versus Democratic voters.
I mean, no, that isn't what it is. I mean, but of course, we're never going to hear him talk about U.S. imperialism because he's actually kind of for that.
8 out of 10 Democratic voters have a negative view of Israel. They do not want to fund Israel anymore. They don't want to fund their wars. They don't want to fight their wars. They don't want to fund their genocide. But it's a tight call for a lot of the politicians because they're like, I want the money, Lebowski. I want the money so.
Well, it's also a tight call because like the U.S., the entire U.S. imperial system is very much based on controlling the Middle East, and that's what Israel is for. Even though now it is increasingly looking like Israel is not capable of doing the thing that the U.S. keeps it around for. I would not be surprised if we actually see a rethink at some point, specifically because of that. Because the whole point of Israel was that they would, occasionally start little fires that were convenient for the U.S. and profitable for arms and oil and gas companies, but mostly put out fires. And now it turns out the only thing that Israel is good for is starting shit they can't finish, and then the U.S. has to jump in and fucking bail them out. So I would not be surprised if this gradually leads to a rethink, because where they sort of decide that maybe they overestimated the military utility of the the joke of an army that they have, which is fucking death squads of assholes who run away at the first sign of combat, and start rethinking it. Yeah. I mean, it says everything that a welfare check is something you can threaten people with. That tells you that just tells you a lot about the sort of society that we're in here. But the Israel lobby exists for propaganda purposes. The Israel lobby is not why the U.S. supports Israel. The Israel lobby largely did not itself support Israel until the U.S. changed their position. And on the very rare occasions when Israel and the U.S. do not see eye to eye, the Israel lobby goes silent. They do not back up Israel. This is fundamentally about the fact that Europe and Asia are entirely dependent, or, well, largely dependent, on oil from West Asia. And they need to project power there because that gives them a huge amount of leverage over Europe and Asia. They don't have any other platform for power projection in the region that is stable, because every single other country in the entire region is populated by people who do not want to see the U.S. in the region, and the only way that the U.S. is able to maintain any presence is that the U.S. has all these puppet dictatorships that murder people if they step out of line, and those puppet dictatorships do whatever the U.S. wants, not what their people want. The only place where the U.S. has any kind of a popular base is Israel. And so the U.S. needs that platform. It's like the one place where that has any kind of stability, and one of the things that has to be throwing U.S. policy planners into a bit of confusion is that it's looking a lot less stable than it did than it had. Yeah, I hope you are able to stay safe too, Emily. God, both of your situations just sound rather terrifying. And I was just noticing the time. It is time for me to wrap up. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'm gonna just drop a couple of links in chat, both to the crowdfunded translation project and the Mayday playlist for anyone who's interested in that. I will be back tomorrow night at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, and I look forward to seeing you all then. Here's the playlist. Yeah, the thing is, AIPAC's influence is massively overstated. They are a propaganda organization, and maybe we'll talk about that in some detail tomorrow.